Good morning. Trinidadian hypocrisy, Trini hypocrisy, double standards, civil rights, but civil rights only for, seems as though, Americans. We don't care about civil rights for our fellow citizens. It doesn't seem so. Why am I saying that? Well, since the death, the murder of Andrea Barrett, many individuals have been praising and commending the police officers for committing extrajudicial killings. Right? Two of the suspects, listen to the word, suspects. Now, under a democracy, you are innocent until proven guilty, because anyone can make allegations against anyone else. Those are facts. Okay? Those are facts. And there were many individuals that were complicit in the abduction and the murder of the young lady, Andrea Barrett. But to what extent, who exactly are actually guilty, no one knows. It's very early in the investigation. Yet, these mighty police officers decided to go and arrest these two guys. And these men seemed as though they had superpowers, because the officers had to literally beat them to death, or almost to death, while arresting them, because they resisted arrest. Right? The autopsies, the original autopsies, even for Andrea Barrett, was wrong, was incorrect. Which indicates something. This whole situation does not add up. It does not make any sense. And many of us know that her death wasn't due to a couple ghetto perverts that decided to rape and abduct and rape her and rob her of her money. This is much greater than that. They were just pawns in a greater, bigger agenda. That young lady knew something that she was not supposed to know. Sadly, she lost her life for it. Yes. That's why it's so... Oh my goodness, it is so hard to even want to go and work in the public service. So hard to even want to go and work in any sector of the public service that is pertaining to criminal justice, to investigations, or anything like that. Because once you really and truly have any sort of moral values and a conscience, you will want to expose corruption. And in this country, in this banana republic of Trinidad and Tobago, once you expose corruption, they will eliminate you, they will silence you. Once you can call names, once you can identify the criminals that are in the elite sector of our society, they will eliminate you. And we all know that the elites in our society don't do dirty work for themselves. They don't kill anyone. They use the thugs, the bandits, the criminals, the ghetto youths to do their dirty work. So these two individuals most likely were paid, were hired to do these jobs, along with the others who are still under investigation and so forth. The point is, these guys, no matter how evil and sinister their acts were, are supposed to be arrested and investigated, and once they are proven to be guilty in court, then and only then justice should be served. And in my opinion, These murderers, these rapists should be hung by their neck in public until dead. So it's not like I don't advocate for the death penalty. It's not like I don't advocate for justice for those who commit heinous and violent crimes. I advocate for justice. I advocate for the death penalty. The Law Association talking total crap about not re-implementing executions. Why don't they speak about the extrajudicial killings? That's what they're supposed to focus on. Not trying to prohibit anyone from reinstating executions. Because we need to get rid of these criminals. They should not remain for a lifetime in prison, being fed 3 times a day, sitting down fat and happy. Why do you think they find it so easy to go outside there and kill? Because they know, I don't mind going and sit down in jail. That's the rhetoric. That's the rhetoric. They don't mind going and sitting down in jail. So that's why they find it very easy to just pull a trigger or pull a knife and just stab and kill someone. Because they know the only consequence is to go in jail and live there for the rest of their life. And most people don't mind doing that as long as they're still alive. That's the whole thing about it. So I support bringing back hangings. And I go to the further extent than many will and say, bring back public hangings like in the old time days. Let the fellow citizens, let us firstly be able to verify that they are really executed and it's not some big show, not some big sham, right? We're just seeing in a box being removed afterwards, and you never get to see the body, so you don't know whether these people were really executed or not. We want to see them executed, and also it is to also make an example of them for the rest of thugs and criminals outside there. Let them know that once they commit these heinous acts, the gallows await them. That is what. But that is justice by the state, not by the police officers. Police officers are citizens just like us. Just with a uniform, just with a badge. Just with the responsibility to maintain and preserve law and order. But they are themselves supposed to also abide by the laws of the land. Therefore, they're not supposed to have the rights to murder and kill anyone. That's not their duty, that's not their right. They cannot take up the entire responsibility of the judiciary system. That is wrong. That is completely wrong. Yet, so many of us in Trinidad and Tobago applaud them for taking the law into their own hands. So then why bother having any criminal courts? Why? Why bother to have any criminal courts when we are endorsing and encouraging the police officers to commit murder, to take justice into their own hands, to behave like vigilantes? That's what we are doing. And we praise them for that. Why? Because we want to see blood. We want vengeance. But how can you want blood and vengeance when you don't even know who the actual perpetrators are yet? There are allegations, but no one knows for sure. No one knows for sure. Yet these men were killed under assumptions. They are citizens just like any one of us, and any one of your families could have been them. Where they could have been at the wrong place at the wrong time, and accused of the crime. Now, yes, it is very possible that they were involved. But that is not for the police to make that decision and take justice into their own hands and kill them. That is not their rights. That is not their responsibility. They are supposed to arrest and investigate. But they're too damn lazy. They don't like to conduct proper investigations. So the quickest and easiest thing is just to kill. But in this case, it is more than that. They were silenced. They weren't just killed. They were silenced. Because if they were really involved in the murder of Andrea Barrett, there were bigger people involved in that conspiracy, and therefore these little ghetto youths were witnesses of a greater and more sinister agenda and plot. Therefore they had to be eliminated. They had to be silenced. That is a fact. But let us get back to the hypocrisy. So I ended up posting yesterday or day before, I can't remember, about George Floyd, and that aggravated a lot of people. But do you know why I posted about George Floyd? It's to show the utter hypocrisy of Trinidadians. The utter hypocrisy. Because once an African American is killed by police officers in America, white police officers in particular, Black Lives Matter. Everyone screams and cries, we want social justice! In spite of the fact that George Floyd was a seasoned criminal for decades. Criminal records that could fill a book. Including one in particular where he was part of an armed robbery where they invaded a woman's home, a pregnant woman's home, and he held her at gunpoint while the others raided her home of her property. Right? And even though in his later part of his life he tried to change to an extent, how much did he really change? When the day that he was arrested, store owners called police because he had a counterfeit $20 bill. $20 is a lot of money in America, unlike down here. Right? And he was intoxicated. He was high on a drug to the extent where usually when that is in your system, it is lethal. It can kill you. And the symptoms of it is that you get breathing problems. It affects your respiratory system. That's what the drug does. So yes, he was complaining that he couldn't breathe. And yes, the officer should have resuscitated him, and the officer had no rights to have his knee on the man's neck. But at the end of the day, George Floyd, and so therefore, wait, before I go on, I have been saying from the beginning that that officer, along with his fellow officers, are complicit and are perpetrators of murder. Those who say, well, the drug in his system is what killed him, it does not matter what exactly stopped his heart from beating. The fact of the matter is the officer's knee was on his neck, which would have also contributed to him being unable to breathe properly. And most of all, none of the officers even attempted to resuscitate him, which they could have. They saw him go limp and did nothing. He stopped resisting. He stopped saying that he couldn't breathe. He was unconscious, and they did nothing to resuscitate him. So those on the other side, on my side actually, on the conservative side, who tries to defend the killing of George Floyd are also wrong. You see, that's the thing with me. I don't justify anything because I'm from a particular side. Yes, I'm a conservative. But when something is wrong, I will say it's wrong, no matter who did it. That's the difference with me. Right? But at the end of the day, what people forget is that this man was resisting arrest. And if he did not resist arrest, all that madness would not have happened in the first place. Right? And the video footage shows it. He was fighting with the officers all inside of their vehicle. But you see, this is the thing about it, and this is where the hypocrisy of Trinidadians come into play. Because in America, if you resist arrest, police should just let you go. In Trinidad, if you resist arrest, the police are justified in killing you. And I say that it is wrong on both sides and in both ways. I say it was wrong for the officers to kill George Floyd, and it was also wrong for the officers to kill these two individuals that were suspects of the murder of Andrea Barrett. Not because they allegedly were participants in her killing means that the police officers have the rights to commit extrajudicial killings. It is wrong. They are murderers. The police officers that did that are murderers. And the thing about it is, what so many of you are so naive and won't acknowledge that when you give police officers the authority to do such things, when the time comes that you or I offend them, they will also kill us. Because they now know that they are justified in killing anyone who resists, who opposes, who offends them. That is not their rights. They have no right to kill anyone. Leave that to the state, the sovereign state of Trinidad and Tobago, to execute judgment on criminals through the judiciary system. Not police officers. Not police officers. So once a white police officer in America commits murder, Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Trinidadians support it also. And they have made George Floyd into a hero. A saint. Some of the pictures I've seen up to this morning are ridiculous. They made this criminal, this seasoned criminal, into a saint. Why? Because what matters most is that a white man killed him. That's what matters most. Not that it was a police officer, no, but that was a white man that killed him. So Black Lives Matter. Once a white kills you, once it's your fellow blacks, black lives don't matter. When Africans killing Africans in Africa because they belong to a militia, and they're raping and they're killing hundreds of women in Africa, black lives don't matter. Black lives don't matter in those cases. They only matter when a white man is the perpetrator. Black lives don't matter here in Trinidad when day after day the two main terrorists gangs in Trinidad kill one another over turf. Black lives don't matter for that either. Their own brothers and sisters they kill because you cross a line, or because you selling drugs to somebody that's supposed to be from the other side. And the music industry promotes them. The radio stations glorify them, edify them. That's what our radio stations and media do. They make these gangsters into heroes in Trinidad and Tobago, into celebrities in Trinidad and Tobago. Now we have the Trinidad music. Trinidad? Trinidad? I did not grow up under that bullshit, man. I did not grow up under that bullshit. It was sweet TNT. Our beautiful island nation, the land of Calypso and Steel Pan. Not Trinidad! Not Trinidad! We are on bullshit now. That is what we are on. Bullshit and lawlessness. Yet we don't care. Black lives don't matter down here. Black lives don't matter when Gary Griffith sent a bunch of police officers to scare the living daylights out of some youths who decided to bathe by a river. And because the day before they made a video and said explicits to Gary Griffith, he felt offended that these cockroaches, as he called them, would disrespect him. So he forced them to lie down on stone under fear, not knowing whether they will have been executed or not. To lie down on the ground, on the hard stones by a river, while he does what? Discipline them. Have respect for him, the Lord God Almighty, Gary Griffith. And when he calls them cockroaches and pests and scum, we agree with him. Right? Why? Because it's Trinidad now. So everything goes. And why? Because Gary Griffith is not a white man. If he was a white man, it would have been a totally different story. Everybody would have been born in Black Lives Matter. I was one of the only people that came out and said, before the Law Association or anybody said it, before any magistrate said it, I said he was wrong for what he did, and it was an abuse of power. It was an abuse of power. He treated those young men like animals. Like animals. All because they wanted to take a bath in a river. But COVID-19, the great and mighty COVID-19, restricts us from living our lives. For over nearly a year now, we are slaves to one blasted virus. Because the politicians say so. And the WHO says so. Right? But Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. No. What really matters is when a white man kills a black man. That is what matters to all of you. Because under no other circumstance, you all fight for black people. Under no other circumstance. When your fellow brothers and sisters are killed in Trinidad and Tobago, you don't yell by the police. You don't yell Black Lives Matter. You yell one criminal less on the streets. Good for them. Kill them, kill them, kill them. It's good for them. Get them criminals off the street. We don't want the taxpayers' dollars to be mining them in jail. I agree. But hang them high through the courts. Let there be a trial, let there be a conviction, and in a short space of time, not 10, 15 years, in a short space of time. 6 months should be the limit. Let there be a quick process. And after conviction, hang them high in public on Woodford Square for everyone to see. Yes, so I want justice, but in a right way. We live in a civilized society, or at least supposed to be a civilized society. And there's supposed to be law and order. And the police officers themselves supposed to abide and uphold law and order. But they don't. They commit everything. All the acts that they arrest everybody else for, they commit, including drug trafficking. Right? Traffic offenses, definitely. They park on the wrong sides of the road. They park in the middle of the road. All kind of madness. Even when there's no emergency. They disobey all the traffic laws. They talk on their cell phones, even in their private vehicles. Right? They don't wear the disgusting masks at times. Nothing. But because they feel they are the law, they think they have the authority to do it. And that's the hypocrisy. So all of you who want to keep trolling me on the page, on the Citizens page, where I'm sharing my post, go straight ahead, nah, man. Go straight ahead. But the fact of the matter is, all they are a bunch of hypocrites. Hypocrites. Because your own fellow Trinidadians, you don't defend. But once it's an American, and once it's a white man that is the perpetrator, that's the only time anything matters to any of you. We are a double standard people. And I'm not just speaking about the Africans in Trinidad, because the Indians are lost under this leftist ideology also. Under this liberal, leftist, globalist ideology in this world. The Indians are lost under it also here in Trinidad and Tobago, not just the Africans. They have both been indoctrinated by CNN, CNC3, TV6, and all these wacko, psycho, fake news media and websites. And the big tech companies, and the propaganda out of groups such as Antifa and Black Lives Matter, who destroy cities, destroy and burn down properties and vehicles, loot and destroy businesses. Many of those businesses belong to their fellow black brothers and sisters. But Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, bap, 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 mash up everything. That's the solution. Mash up everything. Break down windows. Burn down homes. Because Black Lives Matter. And then your own fellow brothers and sisters in the black communities no longer have a place of employment. No longer have their vehicles, no longer have their homes, because it's burnt down. By who? Antifa and BLM. These nasty, despicable, evil excuses for activists. They are no activists. They are terrorists. They are anarchists. They don't give a shit about rights of any minority groups in America. They don't give a crap. But all of you so naive, you still support them. Naive. Because you know what? Once it's about hatred of the white man, that is what matters to you all. Once we could propagate and promote white hatred, that's what matters to you all. White hatred is what matters. That is all. Once we can demonize the white race and force them to kneel before us. Force them to kneel before us and beg for forgiveness for sins committed by their ancestors. That's what matters. Once black supremacy reigns, that's what matters. Right? Blacks could say anything they want on the media and insult any race, ridicule anyone, call them any demeaning thing. On any music, in any shows, anything. And they are entitled to do so, and the media applauds them for it. But if a white person just even stands up for their own rights, they are labeled a racist, a bigot. just for standing up for their own rights, or just standing up for the rights of an unborn child, they are labeled racist. Right? So that is what really matters. White hatred propaganda and ideologies is what matters. Victimhood is what matters. So miss me with the bullshit. Miss me with the bullshit. TNT.